Our next session, keeping your gate locked on your IoT devices, vulnerabilities found on Amazon Alexa. I'm happy to invite our speakers, Oded Vanunu, Head of Products Vulnerability Research at Checkpoint, and Yaara Shriki, Security Researcher, Checkpoint Security Technologies.
Hi, my name is Oded.
Hi, I'm Yaara.
And today we will share with you behind the scenes of Alexa virtual assistants hacks. And we will start with presenting ourselves. So my name is Oded. I'm the head of products vulnerability research in Checkpoint.
And I'm a security researcher at Checkpoint at Oded's team.
Yes, and we are focusing on vulnerability research and uncovering cyber vulnerabilities on cutting edge technologies that we are using on our daily basis. And today, we will share with you a story about Alexa virtual assistants. And first of all, let's understand what is this appliance or what is this device. So this is an electronic device that basically taking a voice command and translate it into software, into code that performs actions on behalf of the users. So for example, this device can, for example, answer for you to asking what is the weather. Second, you can do payments with this device. You can buy groceries on some kind of retailers that support Amazon. And also you can access to your bank accounts through this appliance. In addition, this device has a marketplace. You can think about it like Apple Store or Google Store, where there is appliance that people creating skills the applications of this device. And there is every day, there is new and new skills for this Amazon hardware. And we started the research on this product following the understanding that we see cyber criminals looking every day for new access points that they can access into homes or into offices. And in the last year, because of the COVID-19, people are staying much more at home. And these devices can be easy gate for cyber criminals or malicious actor to access to the home network. And once they are in the home network, we all work from home, so they can access the corporate network. So we see a lot of ways of cyber criminals, hackers to find IoT devices, and this will be the gate for them to access. So that was the motivation for us to start the investigation and see if hackers can take control on the device and start listening or be able to modify the skills or modify the functionality of this device. So Amazon sold more than 200 million devices of Alexa globally. This means that there is a huge network of devices, and these devices are creating every day unique innovation and unique technologies. Yaara, can you explain a little bit about the attack impact that we eventually saw following our research? Of course, that we will go deep dive into the research and we'll share with you step by step how we actually changed multiple simple web vulnerabilities into taking full account takeover.
Right, so once an attacker actually completes the attack flow, they can do multiple things. This is just a small list. They can remove and install skills that like Oded said, the apps in the Alexa. They can see all of the installed apps and the conversation history that the user had with the Alexa. So if they asked for the bank information or asked for some personal information, the attacker can see this conversation. And also they can access the personal information and eavesdrops on conversation. So the Alexa can run in the background, and while you talk and ask questions or talk to your family, the attacker can actually listen on these conversations.
Exactly. Thank you. And what eventually we encounter, what we call not very sophisticated vulnerability, but list of vulnerabilities that eventually allows us to chain them and to trigger them. And this is the main goal of this session, is to share with the InfoSec that sometimes you get reported on very small vulnerabilities, or what we call very low severity vulnerabilities. And you usually say, okay, this is low severity, I will not do with it anything. But we want to share with you that chaining low vulnerabilities sometimes can allow cyber criminals to take full account. And Yaara, which kind of vulnerabilities did we encounter in this research?
Right, so each of these vulnerabilities on itself is not really severe, but combining them together will make the attack much more dangerous. So the first vulnerability we found was code injection, in this case, an XSS, which allows us to run code remotely. The second vulnerability is CSRF attack, which allows us to perform actions on behalf of the user. And the third one was coarse misconfiguration, which allows us to share resources from one subdomain to another one. We'll go deeper in this in the rest of the presentation.
So the attack flow, before we will go deep dive, the attack flow should be that user eventually click on a link that's coming from Amazon domain. And once we call it one click to take it all, once he click it, it trigger list of vulnerabilities that eventually taking his session, taking his permissions, taking all his personal information and perform actions on behalf of this user. So now let's go deep dive and see how this was made. So before we are starting the research, of course, we want to understand the technologies behind it. So of course, we need to see the data, see the packets, but everything is encrypted. So what we are using eventually is that we are trying to bypass the SSL pinning, which permits the secure connection between the application and the servers. And for that, Yaara and the team use Frida debugger to bypass the SSL pinning, and then we will be able to see clear traffic and then start to see where are the vulnerabilities started. So Yaara, please continue.
Yeah, so after we bypassed the SSL pinning, we could see all of the traffic to the Alexa device in clear text. So we started to looking at the packages, at the requests, and we saw that there are many requests from the skill store to other subdomains of Amazon. And what was interesting about those requests was that in the response, the course allows us to share all of the resources between these subdomains. That means that we can send data and see that it goes through from one subdomain to another. So next, what we need here to actually perform actions was the CSRF token. The CSRF token, once we have it for the user, we can run actions on behalf of the user and perform these actions.
But Yaara, why should they give us it for free? You know, this is like one of the problems that we saw, that we were able to generate some kind of simple request on JSON and then getting like the CSRF token for free. And this allows us to understand that if we will have in the future some kind of code injection, that's it. They are over because of the course and the CSRF.
Exactly. So we need to find a request that gives us back in the response the CSRF token. And one of the requests from the skill store, the one that shows us the skill list, actually gives us the CSRF token. So we went to use that, and what we are missing right now is the code injection.
Yes, right. So again, let's focus on the attack flow. what we found so far is that we saw that there is a coarse misconfiguration, which means that secured data, secured cookies transfer between Amazon domains. And we see that we're getting in free the CSRF token in a response. So it means that now we need to find some kind of HTML injection or code injection to actually try to create a malicious URL and start the attack. So Yaara, let's start explain this unique, or what we call like this kind of glitch on Amazon. And this should be like a lesson learned for a lot of developers that's actually doing such infrastructures.
So we started looking at the request. We saw first that we can find a subdomain that connects and shares the resources to Alexa subdomain. So we started looking at other subdomains. There are a couple of hundreds, and one of them was track.amazon.com. That's the subdomain that's responsible for tracking our packages. One of the requests in this site is the get packages for customer. And you see that there are two parameters sent in this request, the pagination and the page size. The page size by default accepts integers. So we said, why not check if it accepts a string as well? So we went and checked that, and in the response, we get a JSON, an error code 500 that's not a number. What's interesting about this response is note that the content type, instead of being a JSON like it should be, it's text HTML. That means that we can run use it to inject code and run code remotely.
So it means that we are actually triggering the error code by intention, but since there was like a development error for identifying this page as a JSON and put it HTML, we can trigger the code injection and concatenate some script to the while we're triggering the error.
Yeah, the page size is actually reflected in the response, as you see, the 00, and we just need to inject a payload. For example, in this case, we injected a script, and it triggered the code injection or the access.
So if we're putting all of it together, so how it looks like. So again, we are triggering it from a parameter in the track.amazon.com that we found a place, a parameter that is not sanitized and allows us to trigger some kind of code injection while issuing an error code. And then
we're sending the AJAX request with the cookies of the user that we just got from the XSS. We're sending the request to the skill store. And in return, in the response, we're getting the CSRF token. Now,
and from there,
once we have the CSRF token, we can perform many actions.
And so let's talk about the impact or what we could achieve more on concatenating and executing this HTML injection. So first of all, what we can get is that we can get the entire skill list, which means that if I'm creating a sophisticated attack, then I want to understand what is the skill list of my target. And I'm getting all this information back while executing the code injection. And just imagine that now that I have this information, I will be able to replace, and we will see it soon, that I will be able to replace the user's application with a malicious application or with fake application and put it on the same ID and put it on the same name. And once the user will trigger this skill or this application, the application will do whatever I was designed to do. For example, I can uninstall the weather skill and install malicious weather skill. And then when the user will say, hey, Alexa, what is the weather? It will tell him the weather, but will start recording. So this is one example of information that we are getting that will help us to escalate the attack. What else we get, Yaara?
So the personal information, anything the user inputs on his Alexa account. So that could be his address, his phone number, really anything that the app asks for. So all of this information, the attacker can read and use it later. And this is really the important impact of this attack, the removing skills and adding new ones. That means we can add a new skill of our own, a malicious skill that can listen, eavesdrop on conversation, gather information, use the devices connected. So all of the IoT connected to the Alexa at your home, the attacker can use. We can use them.
So Yaara, can you explain now the full attack flow by mentioning exactly the vulnerabilities that we encountered?
Right. So at first, the user clicks on the malicious link we created that directs him to track Amazon.com, the subdomain that we have the code injection capabilities. Once the user clicks on the link, the cookies are sent, and we send the AJAX request to skill store subdomain. And in response, we get the CSRF token. The CSRF token and a list of all apps from the Alexa. So now we have the CSRF token and the list of the app. We can choose one of the apps in the list, the popular one, and remove it. And go ahead and put and add a new skill of our own, a malicious one. So we replaced the existing skill with our own one. And that's it. We have the full flow. We can take over the Alexa device, eavesdrop in conversation, and see all of the personal information of the user.
But Yaara, I want to elaborate more on the first layer, which means that when we found the vulnerabilities, we found it under Amazon domain, which means that now from the attacker perspective, this is the most easiest way to trigger the attack, because once he's sending the malicious link, the link is coming from Amazon.
Right.
This means that every security solution or every security product will see it as a trusted URL that's coming from Amazon. And no one can suspect that this trigger some kind of unexpected behavior, because this is all kind of data that transfer between Amazon domains.
The link is a legitimate Amazon link, yes.
Yeah. So we can now share a demo, a video of what we found. And after that, we can go to questions. If you have, we will be happy to answer your question or anything that you want to ask. And then we will, again, summarize what we saw and what are the actions. So let's go with the flow.
Alexa, start checkpoint research.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go to any questions that you may have. Okay, so we got question from Omri. Can an attacker just use these vulnerabilities in order to listen to whatever is done and said in one's house? Not only commands to Alexa, but as means to spy on these users? Yeah, absolutely. That was exactly what we said and what we meant, that the attacker eventually take control on the appliance. And once he take control of the appliance and on the skills, he is able to switch or remove and add skills as long as you want, because of these vulnerabilities that we, of course, reported to Amazon and was fixed. Any more questions? Or Yaara, do you want to add on it?
Yeah, I just want to say that it really depends on the skill that you upload. So if your skill has the capabilities to eavesdrop on conversation, to keep listening, then yeah, any skill that you upload, it can run in the background.
Okay, so I will wait for more question, and I will share that once we identify these vulnerabilities, of course, that we are working on a responsible full disclosure. We are we approached Amazon very quickly, and they were very happy with us with the security team to work with us just to get the vulnerability information. Of course, they fixed it very quickly, and once it was fixed, we of course published it and talked about it, as we do on every technology that we are doing. So, okay, so I don't see any more question. So let's go to the takeaways. So my takeaway, and then Yaara, you can do your takeaway, is that today, since most of the industry is working from home, it means that the attack surface or the attack vectors change. If the focus was on corporates attacking the corporates networks, today it's attacking the client side, it's attacking the users. These are the weak links to enter to the corporate organization, because they are using their laptop, they are using IoT devices they have at home, they're using the home network to connect to the corporate network. So it means that if I manage to access to the home networks, I have halfway to be able to continue my attack. So the methodology today is to chain small vulnerabilities to get full attack. It's very rare today to find one single vulnerability, remote code execution, and you know, this can happen. But today it's like the tactic is more to chain small vulnerabilities or multiple vulnerabilities to get a full path.
Yeah. So I want to add that also, not only they're chaining several vulnerabilities like XSS and CSRF, they're also going from different subdomains. So when we started looking at the Alexa, we didn't only look at the subdomain of Alexa. We looked at all of Amazon as a company. So we went and searched for all of the subdomains, and then started to look for bugs in the other subdomains as well. Because we can go, if we find the course like we found here, we can go from one subdomain to another. And that allows us to create an attack flow that in the end, actually, we can take over this system.
Okay, so we'll see again if we got more questions. So we didn't get more questions. So anyway, we will be happy if you would like to approach us later. You can find us on the social media. And I want to thank you all, and I welcome you to enjoy what we have, Checkpoint Research. We are publishing a lot of stories that focusing only on cyber warfare and how to protect the cyber domain from cyber criminals. So thank you very much and
Thank
have a
you.
great day.